guys, how's it going? Last night I was booking accommodation for a trip that we've got planned in March, and I was just thinking of all the travel fuck-ups I've done in my lifetime. So I thought what would be a fun video is just to sit down, have a cup of tea, and talk you through my best 3 stories. I hope you enjoy. So number 1, I'm just going to set the scene. It was my second year of uni and I was about to fly back from Palmy to Auckland to visit my parents, and then we were going to go to the beach, and I was so excited. It was the Easter holidays, so I had it in my head that my flight was on Good Friday. I don't know why I didn't think, maybe, Palmy Airport may not have shitloads of flights on Good Friday, but that never really occurred to me. So the night before Good Friday was a Thursday night, and it's always a big one because it was a time just before mid-semester break, so everyone went out and got drunk and had so much fun. And yeah, I did that too, knowing that I had an early flight the next day. So wake up on the Good Friday, hungover, really hungover, and my lovely flatmate, who's not into drinking, was like, I'll drive you to the airport. So she drove me to the airport, dropped me off, I waved her goodbye, and me with my sunglasses on kind of trolleyed on up to the counter. Went to one of those self-service things and was like, doo. And they're like, no, we cannot find your booking. And I was like, okay, well, hang on. And then I got my paper out and I was like, no, this is the flight reference number. Did it again. Hung over me, trolleyed on up to the counter because it still wasn't working. Guy looked at the piece of paper, looked at me, looked at the piece of paper, looked at me and said, sweetheart, your flight's tomorrow. I was like, I just wanted to curl up and cry. Like, I know now it's just really funny that I decided that Good Friday was a good time to fly, considering even when we rocked up at the airport, it was pretty much empty. Like, usually Palmy Airport isn't like hugely busy. There's usually quite a few taxis around, people coming and going, but it was pretty empty and I didn't really think to question it. So yeah, I turned up the day before my flight, which, to be fair, is better than the day afterwards. So that taught me always double check your flight time and date before rocking on up to the airport. Probably recommend doing it a week or so in advance and getting the date right in your head, not just assuming it. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. So the second story is another Palmy to Auckland flight. This time I was a little bit older, a little bit wiser, and I was like, yep, I've got this. I booked, a couple of months ago to go up home to be coddled by my parents while I got ready for exams and studied really hard, and so I didn't have to look after myself. And so I was in a kind of pre-game, like, I need to get everything ready study-wise, and I had packed and got everything, and I was sorted, and my lovely boyfriend dropped me off at the airport. And I went up to the counters, again, the self-checkout counters, because they're really, check-in counters, sorry, they're really helpful. So I was like, tap. No, they said that is not right. So I was like, okay, let's tap. Nope, still not working. I was a bit frustrated by this point. I was like, for domestic flights in New Zealand, you only need to turn up like half an hour before your flight, so I probably cut it pretty thin as well. Then went up to the counter after having to wait a while because it was actually, a busy day with flying. Waiter, got up there, and I went to the guy, why is the computer not working? I really don't want to miss my flight, blah, blah, blah. He went tap, looked up at me. This flight is leaving in 20 minutes. I was like, yep, I know. From Auckland. I just went white. I was stuck in Palmy, and I'd booked my flights the wrong way around. So I'd booked from Auckland to Palmy to Auckland, instead of Palmy to Auckland, Auckland to Palmy. I was an absolute idiot. Like, I was just like, oh my god, what am I going to do? I'm a broke student. I need to get home. So I called mum up and I was like, this is what happened. I'm such an idiot. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. I ended up managing to book a flight in an hour or so, which was really lucky because Auckland flights to Auckland are generally pretty booked out. But yeah, that taught me lesson number 2 is to really double check your departure where you're departing from and arriving to, making sure that that's the right way around. Oh, I felt so stupid, and I was so stressed, and that's just what you needed before going into exam study. But you know, it all worked out in the end, and now it's just something I laugh at. Moving on to story number 3. Now, this is the most recent one and probably the biggest fuck up that I've done in terms of travel. I've touched on it a few times in these vlogs. As you know, we moved to the UK at the end of last year. Now, obviously we needed visas, and I was like, yes, I'm going to get on the visa process as soon as I can. And based on all the reading I'd done, it said you need to apply at least 3 months before your intended trip. And I was like, okay, at least 3 months. That is fine. So as soon as I was eligible to kind of put it for the time frame I wanted to be there, which was December, I was like, yeah, I'm going to get onto this. And I started through the application process. So this was probably, it was about 4 months before I intended to go, but at least 3 months, you know. And part of the questionnaire, you know, when are you intending on landing? And I was intending on going over for a friend's wedding, which was, I believe, like the 19th or 20th of December. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to be there for this. So this is my intended arrival date, which was, I think I put down like the 17th. Filled it all out, sent it off, and yeah, visa was accepted, cool, went ahead with Brendan's visa process, got him all onto it, got our visas, yeah, cool. You know, what happens when you get a visa for the UK from New Zealand? I'm not sure of with the 2-year one, but with the ancestral one anyway, you get given your visa, or your BRP, which, like the resident permit, so that you're able to work and all that, and come into the country without being given 1,000,001 questions. But they don't actually send that to you. They give you a little thing in your passport to be allowed into the country to go collect that, which is all good. I was just like, oh yeah, sweet, I know this only lasts for 30 days, but I looked at it and I said December, and it was like expired in December, and I was like, sweet, that's all good, you know, I'm arriving in December. Didn't think of anything of it. 2 months passed. Then on our way to the UK, we went to Sydney for a weekend to see Taylor Swift, which was amazing. And then we went to Japan and then Germany before actually landing in the UK. Now, you know what the lines can be like while you're waiting to get on an aeroplane. So I was all excited at Auckland Airport, lining up to board the plane to Sydney, and I was like, yeah, let's flick through my passport. Had a look at my clearance to enter, to, you know, get into the UK and pick up my 5-year passport. It was due to expire in 2 days' time, which I was meant to be in Sydney, which I still had at least 3 weeks of travel left. I just flipped. I was like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? I, you know, have put so much planning, I've got nothing, I've like sold everything out. What am I meant to do? I've got so much booked, and I'm so excited, and oh my god. So I got to Sydney, and I just like burst into tears when I saw my parents. I was like, I've royally fucked up this time. I didn't realise that when they said you need to book at least 3 months before you go, that they meant they would give you a clearance to enter exactly 3 months after you've applied for your visa. So that meant, because I was super onto it, that it expired on like the 2nd of December, and I was arriving in the UK on like the 17th. I was, yeah, not very happy. So yeah, that one ended up being resolved by lots of calls to the visa people. I had 2 choices. One is I could jump on a plane and get to the UK ASAP and be there before that expired. My other option was to apply for another clearance to enter, but I had to be in a place for at least 2 to 3 weeks. And you know, I was obviously, you know, going Japan, Germany. I was like, oh my god. We stayed in Munich for longer than we were planning on, so I could go to the embassy there and get all my visa stuff redone. Had to pretty much redo the application part, but because I had my BRP and all that, the process thankfully was a lot faster, and I only got to the UK like 2 or 3 days later than intended, which was so good. So yeah, moral of that story is, as they say on your visa application, don't book tickets to the UK until you have received your visa. Yeah, and that is the moral of that story. And also check these things properly. I know it's exciting, but check them properly. Anyway guys, I really hope you enjoyed that little story time. I'm sure there'll be many more of these sorts of tales to come, but these are my current ones. I've had a few other little hiccups, but they're probably my like biggest meltdown moments at the time, and they have taught me a lot about travel and that things can all work out in the end. So I hope you have a lovely day. Give this a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, because I would love to do more kind of chit chat things like this about my craziness, and click down below to subscribe if you want to see kind of more travel vlogs, random videos, whatnot, all that jazz. Hope you have a lovely day, as I've already said, and I'll catch you next time. Bye guys, love you lots. Bye. Also, really happy that the camera did not fall out the window. Yeah, that was my filming setup. Oh, to get a new camera.